In the 3rd century BCE, two distinct civilizations stood on the precipice of destiny. To the east, the Hellenistic world, inheritor of Alexander the Great's vast empire, boasted a rich tapestry of culture, philosophy, and military tradition. To the west, a rising power, the Roman Republic, forged its might through disciplined legions and an unyielding will to expand. This is the story of their inevitable collision, not a swift conquest, but a methodical dismantling of Greek independence, piece by piece, as Rome redefined the balance of power across the Mediterranean. How did a seemingly less cultured republic conquer the sophisticated heirs of Greece? By the late 3rd century BCE, Rome had unified the Italian peninsula and emerged victorious from the Punic Wars against Carthage. This triumph against a formidable maritime power instilled confidence and fueled an already burgeoning ambition. With its western flank secured, Rome's gaze began to drift eastward, across the Adriatic Sea. The Hellenistic kingdoms, embroiled in their own power struggles and internal strife, presented a tempting, albeit complex, arena for Roman influence. This eastward expansion was not initially about conquest, but about securing trade routes and preventing threats from coalescing against Roman interests. Rome's first significant entanglement with the Greek world, or its periphery, began with the Illyrian Wars. The Illyrians, a seafaring people inhabiting the eastern coast of the Adriatic, engaged in widespread piracy that threatened Roman and Italian merchants. This piracy was not just an economic nuisance, it was a direct challenge to Roman authority and its ability to protect its citizens and allies. The Illyrian queen Tuda's refusal to curb these activities provided Rome with a casus belli, a legitimate reason for military intervention beyond its established borders. This marked a crucial turning point, establishing Rome's presence across the Adriatic. In 229 BC, the Roman Senate dispatched a substantial fleet and army across the Adriatic, initiating the First Illyrian War. The campaign was swift and decisive. Roman military discipline and organization proved superior to the fragmented Illyrian forces. Within months, Illyria was subdued, and Queen Tuda was forced to accept a humiliating peace treaty. Rome gained control over key Illyrian coastal towns and established protectorates, effectively creating a buffer zone and securing its maritime routes. This victory was a clear demonstration of Rome's growing power and its willingness to project that power far from Italy. Following the Illyrian Wars, Rome established a new form of diplomacy. They declared certain Greek cities, previously under Illyrian influence, free, strategically positioning themselves as liberators rather than conquerors in the eyes of the Hellenistic world. This move was a masterclass in political strategy. It gained Rome goodwill among some Greek city-states, who saw the Romans as potential protectors against larger Hellenistic powers. Simultaneously, it carved out a legitimate sphere of influence for Rome in the Balkans, setting a precedent for future interventions into Greek affairs. Rome was learning how to play the complex game of Hellenistic politics. The shadows of the Second Punic War soon extended across the Adriatic. Philip V of Macedon, recognizing Rome's vulnerability while Hannibal ravaged Italy, formed an alliance with the Carthaginian general in 215 BC. This alliance sparked the First Macedonian War. Rome, heavily engaged with Hannibal, could not commit significant legions directly. Instead, they employed a shrewd political strategy, subsidizing and encouraging Greek city-states, like the Aetolian League in Pergamon, to fight Philip on their behalf. This proxy war kept Philip occupied and prevented him from sending aid to Hannibal, effectively neutralizing a dangerous two-front threat. The First Macedonian War concluded with the Treaty of Phoenix in 205 BC. It was largely a stalemate, with no clear victor, but Rome had achieved its primary objective, keeping Philip V contained and preventing him from intervening in the Second Punic War. Crucially, the conflict cemented Rome's role as a major player in the Greek world, capable of influencing events without direct, overwhelming force. The treaty also left many Greek city-states wary of Philip's ambitions and increasingly open to Roman overtures, setting the stage for future interventions. This peace was merely a pause, not an end. Rome's decisive victory over Hannibal at Zama in 202 BC fundamentally shifted the geopolitical landscape. Free from the Carthaginian threat, Rome now had the resources and resolve to address Philip V's continued expansionist policies in the Aegean. When Philip attacked Rhodes and Pergamon, two Roman allies, the Senate seized the opportunity to launch the Second Macedonian War in 200 BC. This time, Rome would not rely on proxies. Under the command of Titus Quinctius Flamininus, the full might of the Roman Republic was directed against Macedon, setting up a direct confrontation between the Roman legion and the Macedonian phalanx. The Macedonian phalanx, with its dense formation of pikemen, was a formidable force, seemingly impenetrable from the front. Its long sarissas created a bristling wall of spears. However, the Roman manipular legion possessed unparalleled flexibility and adaptability. Organized into smaller, independent units, legions could maneuver over varied terrain, exploit gaps, and adapt tactics mid-battle. This inherent difference in structure would prove crucial. The phalanx, while powerful in frontal assault, was vulnerable on its flanks and rear, and struggled to maintain cohesion on broken ground. This tactical contrast would define the decisive engagements. The decisive clash occurred in 197 BC at Cynoscephalae, Dog's Head's Ridge, in Thessaly. The terrain, broken and hilly, was disadvantageous for the unwieldy phalanx. During the battle, the Macedonian line became fragmented. One Roman tribune, seeing a vulnerable flank, daringly led 20 maniples to attack the rear of Philip's intact phalanx wing. This unexpected maneuver, leveraging the legion's flexibility, shattered the Macedonian formation. The result was a catastrophic defeat for Philip V, solidifying the Roman manipular legion as the premier military formation of the ancient world. Over 8,000 Macedonians were killed, and 5,000 captured. Following Cynoscephalae, Flamininus pursued a masterful act of diplomacy. At the Isthmian Games in 196 BC, before a vast Greek crowd, he dramatically declared all Greek city-states free and independent. This pronouncement was met with ecstatic celebration. Rome positioned itself not as an occupying power, but as the guarantor of Greek liberty, fulfilling its initial promise. However, this freedom came with unspoken conditions. Greece was free from Macedon, but implicitly bound to Rome. This diplomatic triumph secured Roman influence without the cost of direct administration, turning former enemies into grateful clients and effectively isolating any future challengers. The Hellenistic world was not entirely subdued. Antiochus III, the ambitious Seleucid king, had expanded his empire across Asia Minor and threatened Roman interests in Greece. Encouraged by the Aetolian League, which felt betrayed by Roman freedom, Antiochus crossed into Greece, declaring himself the liberator of the Greeks from Roman influence. This act ignited the Roman-Seleucid War. Rome, fresh from victories against Carthage and Macedon, could not tolerate another major power challenging its newfound dominance in the East. This conflict would test Rome against the largest of the Hellenistic kingdoms. The decisive confrontation occurred at the Battle of Magnesia in 190 BC. Commanded by Scipio Asiaticus, the brother of Scipio Africanus, the Roman forces faced an enormous Seleucid army, including elephants and scythe chariots. Despite being outnumbered, Roman discipline and tactical superiority prevailed. The Seleucid phalanx, like its Macedonian counterpart, proved vulnerable to outflanking maneuvers and internal disruption. The Roman victory was overwhelming, resulting in immense Seleucid casualties. This defeat shattered Seleucid power in Asia Minor and cemented Rome's position as the unquestioned hegemon of the eastern Mediterranean, paving the way for deeper Roman influence. The Treaty of Apamea in 188 BC imposed harsh terms on Antiochus III. He was forced to relinquish all territories west of the Taurus Mountains, pay a colossal war indemnity, and surrender his navy. The treaty effectively dismantled the Seleucid Empire as a major player in the Aegean and left it severely weakened. Rome, however, did not directly annex these territories. Instead, it distributed them among its allies, primarily Pergamon and Rhodes, creating a complex web of dependent states. This strategy avoided the immediate burdens of administration while ensuring Roman control through client kingdoms, a hallmark of their political strategy. Despite previous defeats, Macedonian ambition was not entirely extinguished. Perseus, Philip V's son, sought to restore Macedonian prestige and power, forming alliances with other Greek states and challenging Roman authority. This led to the Third Macedonian War in 171 BC. Rome, increasingly frustrated by persistent Hellenistic defiance, adopted a more aggressive stance. This wasn't merely about containing a threat, it was about definitively ending Macedonian sovereignty. The conflict was protracted, but the Romans were determined to establish absolute dominance, leaving no room for future rebellions. The final, decisive confrontation came at the Battle of Pydna in 168 BC, led by the Roman consul Lucius Aemilius Paulus. Once again, the Roman legions faced the Macedonian phalanx. Initially, the phalanx pushed the Romans back, demonstrating its formidable power. However, as the phalanx advanced, its rigid formation broke over uneven ground, creating gaps. Paulus seized this moment, ordering his maniples to penetrate the lines. In the ensuing melee, the flexible Roman shortsword proved devastating against the long sarissas. Pydna was a crushing Roman victory, effectively ending the Macedonian monarchy and its military power forever. After Pydna, Rome decided to completely dismantle Macedonia. Instead of annexing it as a province, they divided it into 4 independent, tribute-paying republics, each forbidden from interacting with the others. This divide-and-conquer strategy ensured that Macedonia could never again coalesce into a threat. The Macedonian treasury was plundered, and thousands of prominent citizens were taken to Rome as hostages. This brutal settlement marked a new phase in Roman policy, less about liberation, more about total subjugation and the ruthless suppression of any potential resurgence of power in the region. Decades of Roman political maneuvering, heavy-handed diplomacy, and increasing interference eventually ignited widespread resentment among the Greek states. The Achaean League, a federation of Peloponnesian city-states, finally rebelled against Roman authority in 146 BC. This revolt, while understandable, was a desperate act against a vastly superior power. Rome viewed it as a direct challenge to its established order and responded with overwhelming force. The Roman commander, Lucius Mummius, was dispatched to crush the rebellion, signaling Rome's absolute intolerance for defiance. The Achaean revolt culminated in the tragic destruction of Corinth in 146 BC. Corinth, a wealthy and strategically important Greek city, was brutally sacked by Mummius's legions. Its male population was put to the sword, women and children sold into slavery, and the city itself systematically razed to the ground. This act was not merely a military victory, it was a brutal demonstration of Roman power, a chilling warning to any other Greek city-state contemplating defiance. The destruction of Corinth marked the symbolic end of Greek political independence and ushered in an era of direct Roman rule. Following the destruction of Corinth, Greece was formally annexed by Rome and reorganized into the Roman province of Macedonia, which also encompassed Epirus and parts of Illyria. Later, a separate province of Achaea would be established for the southern parts of Greece. This marked the complete and irreversible loss of Greek political autonomy. Rome implemented its provincial administration, imposed taxes, and stationed garrisons. While Greek culture and cities largely continued to thrive under Roman peace, their destiny was now firmly tied to Rome's will, a profound shift after centuries of self-governance. The Roman conquest of Greece was a complex process, driven by a combination of Roman expansionism, strategic necessity, and Greek internal divisions. Rome's military tactics, particularly the flexibility of the manipular legion, consistently outmatched the Hellenistic phalanx. Their political strategy, initially presenting themselves as liberators, evolved into a ruthless assertion of dominance. While Greece lost its political freedom, its rich culture, philosophy, and art profoundly influenced its conquerors, leading to a unique Greco-Roman civilization that would shape the foundations of Western thought for millennia. Rome absorbed Greek brilliance, even as it suppressed Greek independence. The Roman conquest of Greece was more than just a military victory, it was a pivotal moment in the history of Western civilization. It solidified Rome's power, paving the way for its vast empire. It also ensured the survival and widespread dissemination of Greek cultural achievements throughout the Roman world and beyond. From law and governance to art, literature, and philosophy, the synergy of Roman might and Greek intellect created a powerful legacy. The story of how Rome conquered Greece is a testament to the interplay of military prowess, shrewd diplomacy, and enduring cultural exchange that continues to resonate today.